Lily Snow adjusted her colorful scarf as the first rays of sun warmed the bustling city square. Her small stall, adorned with trays of golden pastries and jars of fragrant herbal teas, stood as a humble invitation amid the towering glass buildings. The scent of cinnamon and fresh bread mingled with the morning air, promising a taste of something comforting and real in the midst of the urban rush. As she arranged her wares, Lily's heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. Today was no different from any other, yet she hoped this day might bring new customers, perhaps people who would see beyond the simple cloth covering her modest table and recognize the love baked into every item she offered. Moments later, a group of impeccably dressed professionals strode into the square, their sharp shoes clicking against the pavement, laughter and conversations filling their wake. Leading them was Victoria Crane, a well-known executive with a reputation for exacting standards and little patience for anything she considered beneath her. Victoria's gaze landed on Lily's stall, her lips curling into a faint, superior smile. As Lily greeted the newcomers with a warm but tentative "good morning," Victoria's voice cut through the air, sharp and cold. "Excuse me, but are you sure you belong here? This isn't a marketplace for common trades. Perhaps you should reconsider your place." Her accent was clipped, the words delivered with a deliberate air of disdain. The nearby crowd murmured, some casting curious glances at Lily, others shifting uncomfortably. Lily's cheeks flushed, but she held her posture steady, lips pressed in a line. For a heartbeat, silence stretched between them, her world narrowing to the sharp edge of Victoria's scrutiny. Victoria Crane crossed her arms and took a deliberate step closer to Lily's stall, her eyes cold and unforgiving. "This area is reserved for establishments that meet certain standards," she said loudly enough for the growing crowd to hear. "A simple street vendor with that accent and those modest goods doesn't fit here. Honestly, it's embarrassing." Behind her, her colleagues exchanged smirks and nodded, emboldened by their leader's disdain. Lily's fingers clenched briefly around the edge of her stall, the warmth of her earlier hope evaporating beneath the weight of the accusation. "I have a permit for this spot," she said softly but firmly, lifting her gaze to meet Victoria's. "I work hard every day to share my recipes. These pastries, they mean more than just food to me." Victoria scoffed, a cruel twist to her lips. "Permit or not, your presence distracts from the professional atmosphere. I suggest you pack up and find a place appropriate for your trade." Her voice dipped to a condescending sneer. "Maybe you'd be better off elsewhere. This city is no place for simple country fare." Murmurs rippled through the gathered onlookers. Some shifted uneasily, sensing the discomfort but unsure where they stood. A few passers-by whispered sympathetically to Lily, but the sharpness in Victoria's tone made even the boldest hesitate. "I'm just trying to do my work," Lily said, voice tightening but resolute. "I'm not here to cause trouble." Victoria's gaze sharpened, now more like a predator eyeing prey. "Trouble? Perhaps. Because you don't belong here, and frankly, I'm prepared to report your stall to the authorities if you don't leave right now." Her voice carried an edge that left no room for discussion. "I'm serious, step away before this escalates." Heat rose to Lily's cheeks, not from the morning sun, but from the crowd's tightening scrutiny. Her stall, once a beacon of comfort and welcome, suddenly felt fragile, like a thin shield against overwhelming judgment. The pastries cooled beneath her gaze, unclaimed, as Victoria's group watched with smug anticipation. A young man, barely out of college and standing near the edge of the crowd, stepped forward hesitantly. "I think her pastries look really good," he said softly. "I'd like to buy some." He smiled tentatively at Lily. "I'm sure a lot of people here would too, if they gave her a chance." Victoria's eyes flicked to him with icy disdain. "Ah, a champion of mediocrity," she said, voice dripping sarcasm. "Perhaps you'd like to join her in this quaint little business? Or better yet, Greg, why don't you go back to your own place and leave the real work to professionals?" Greg's smile faltered, but he didn't back down. "I just think it's unfair to judge without trying." The city is for all of us, isn't it? His words gathered a few quiet nods, but the overwhelming mood remained weighed heavily against Lily. The crowd's whispers grew louder, some voices casting judgment, others debated quietly about the fairness of Victoria's accusations. A woman in a business suit shook her head but didn't intervene, while a pair of older men exchanged glances as if silently measuring the unfolding scene. Lily's heart pounded and her hands trembled slightly as she packed a few pastries into a paper bag, preparing to leave as Victoria insisted. Each movement felt heavier than the last. Yet, as she looked around, more pairs of eyes met hers with curiosity, some even sympathy. It was a fragile lifeline amid the mounting pressure. "No," Lily murmured, abruptly straightening. "I have the right to be here. I'm not leaving just because you say I should." Her voice was small, but underneath was a steadiness that surprised even her. "I'm proud of these pastries. They come from my family's recipes, and I believe people deserve the chance to try them." Victoria froze, her expression flickering for a moment between surprise and annoyance. "You're making a mistake," she snapped. "You'll regret standing your ground." But Lily's resolve held firm. The crowd shifted again, some drawing closer, drawn by the tension and the small defiance blooming at the heart of it. The air was thick with expectation. Victoria's smile tightened, and she looked to her associates, gesturing sharply. "Security," she called out. Moments later, two men in dark suits approached, their faces unreadable but their posture firm. They loomed beside Victoria's side, ready to enforce her command. Lily's breath caught at the sight, a sudden wave of shame and frustration crashing over her. She glanced around as the crowd's attention focused on her now more than ever. Her limbs felt numb, the weight of their stares almost unbearable. "Please," a woman in the crowd whispered, stepping forward. "Let her stay. Her pastries smell wonderful." Others murmured in agreement. A few people began pulling out their phones, some already whispering of a possible social media post about the incident. Victoria's gaze flicked over the growing stir and her lips tightened. "This is enough," she said sharply, voice raised to assert control. "You will leave now." But the crowd, no longer purely followers of Victoria's judgment, was changing. Lily felt a spark of hope ignite as people murmured encouragement and the warm scent from her stall filled the morning air anew. Greg nudged his way closer, offering a small smile. "Don't give up just yet. People are listening." He looked around, noting the shifting mood, the way some of Victoria's colleagues now avoided eye contact, uncomfortable. The moment stretched, the tension thickening like fog. Lily's gaze met Victoria's one last time, steady now, no longer shrinking under the sneer. The stares of the curious, the sympathetic, and even the amused settled on her. And then, a hesitant applause rose from the crowd, tentative, like the first drops in a storm. Victoria's group looked unsettled as murmurs changed from judgment to curiosity. Lily's fingers brushed the edge of a warm pastry, her heart pounding with the knowledge that this confrontation was far from over, and that she might just have more strength than anyone expected. If you found yourself in Lily's position, facing ridicule and the threat of expulsion, would you stand firm or step away? The city watches, the story unfolds. From the back of the crowd, an elderly woman with silver hair tied into a neat bun stepped forward, her eyes bright with quiet resolve. She looked directly at Lily, then at Victoria, and called out in a clear, warm voice. "Let the woman stay. I'd like to taste what she's selling." The simple, sincere request rippled through the bystanders, breaking the heavy tension like sunlight through a cloudy sky. Lily's eyes widened in surprise, but a grateful smile blossomed on her lips. Encouraged by the woman's courage, she reached under her table and brought out a small tray of freshly baked pastries, golden and steaming with the fragrance of cinnamon and vanilla. Her hands trembled slightly, but she spoke with gentle determination. "Please, help yourselves. The first taste is on me." One by one, the passers-by stepped forward hesitantly, their curiosity overcoming hesitation. A man in a crisp suit, initially scowling at the scene, took a bite and paused. His eyebrows knitted together as he considered the flavor, a subtle sweetness, balanced by spices that felt both comforting and refined, a recipe that seemed to carry a story beyond the simple words Lily had spoken. A woman with a chic bob and perfectly manicured nails reached out and accepted a pastry, her skepticism giving way to surprise as the warm, flaky layers melted on her tongue. "This is really good," she admitted, glancing around as if seeking confirmation from others. Whispers traveled rapidly, growing louder and more enthusiastic as the crowd began to enjoy the pastries. Smiles appeared on faces that had only moments before watched with uncertainty or even disdain. The young man who had earlier shown support, Greg, laughed softly and remarked, "I told you. She's got something special." Victoria's smirk faltered as the tide quietly turned around her. Her eyes darted from one delighted taster to another, the confident facade slipping ever so slightly. "This is just a fluke," she muttered, but her voice lacked conviction. The crowd's reaction grew bolder. People started forming a curious line in front of Lily's stall, eager to buy pastries and share compliments. Some pulled out wallets and smartphones, documenting the unexpected triumph. One woman, clutching a steaming cup in one hand and a pastry in the other, nodded emphatically and said, "You don't need anyone's approval. Your food speaks for itself." Victoria stood stiffly, lips pursed and jaw tight, overtaken by a growing murmuring crowd that had previously been her domain. For once, she found herself on the outside looking in as the gathering's mood shifted palpably, a mixture of surprise, delight, and even admiration toward Lily. A little boy tugged at his mother's sleeve, whispering excitedly, "Can we come back tomorrow, Mom? These are the best things I've ever tasted." The woman smiled, squeezing Lily's hand gently. The energy surged, the square buzzed with delighted chatter about the pastries and their creators' quiet dignity. The taste and warmth of the simple offerings transcended the initial judgment, revealing a raw authenticity that no condescension could mask. "Your recipes," an elderly gentleman asked candidly, "have a history worth sharing. Where do they come from?" Lily's eyes shone as she replied, "They're from my family, from my hometown. It's a place where food isn't just sustenance, it's a connection to those we love and the life we've built. I wanted to bring that here with me." The crowd listened, captivated by her sincerity, feeling the passion in her words reflected in the food still lingering on their tongues. Meanwhile, Victoria's associates began to exchange awkward glances. The tide of public favor was no longer in their control, and faces that had been painted with smug confidence now showed flickers of embarrassment. The atmosphere had upended, the insult that once silenced Lily had reawakened an unexpected support that shimmered like a current beneath the surface. "Maybe there's more to her than meets the eye," one of the businesspeople muttered quietly, unsure whether to join the burgeoning wave of admiration or cling to the retreating confidence of their leader. Victoria, sensing her grip slipping, attempted one final effort at regaining control. "Fine," she said coldly, voice sharp but wavering. "But this doesn't mean anything changes. Next time, consider your place carefully." But Lily's smile was genuine and unshaken. She looked around, at the faces now eagerly lined up to purchase more of her pastries, each person a testament to the power of quiet resilience and the flavor of authenticity. The crowd had shifted decisively from skepticism to celebration. Victoria's presence shrank amid the warmth that Lily's offerings had sparked, her echoing disdain drowned by the chorus of satisfied voices and clinking coins exchanging for more treats. Moments ago, Lily had felt crushed, isolated, and overwhelmed. Now, standing before the smiling crowd, she proved that courage, kindness, and craftsmanship could turn judgment into jubilance. She caught Greg's eye, and he gave her an encouraging nod. "You did it," he whispered. A ripple of laughter and applause rang out through the square, transforming the morning's discord into a shared moment of triumph. The pastries, more than just food, had become a symbol of defiance and dignity, proof that underneath every accent, every simple setup, lived a story worth savoring. Victoria, realizing her defeat, turned away without another word, her composed exterior cracked. The crowd watched her retreat, their solidarity with Lily unmistakable. As the line grew longer and the customers more animated in their praise, Lily took a deep breath, her heart lighter despite the long road ahead. She was no longer just a street vendor with a regional accent. Today, she became a storyteller whose flavors touched more than just the palate, they touched the spirit. The city square thrummed with renewed energy, and Lily's humble stand shone brightly within it, a small but undeniable celebration of authenticity, skill, and quiet courage. As the crowd's enthusiasm swelled, Lily found a quiet moment near her stall to catch her breath. She wiped a stray crumb from her sleeve and glanced around, grateful for the warmth and acceptance that had blossomed unexpectedly amidst the morning's tension. When a young woman approached with a curious smile, Lily welcomed the chance to share a bit more about herself. "My family's bakery was in a small town not far from here," Lily began, her voice gentle but steady. "I grew up surrounded by the scents of fresh bread and the chatter of neighbors who knew everyone's story. My accent, the way I talk, that's a part of where I come from, a place where tradition runs deep, and food is a language all its own." The woman nodded, her eyes reflecting genuine interest. "It's amazing how your pastries carry that history. But you don't look like you've been in town long." Lily smiled softly, the memories threading through her mind like a delicate tapestry. "I moved here recently," she admitted. "I had been running our family bakery for years, but when my mother fell ill, I stayed by her side. After she passed, I wanted a fresh start. The city felt intimidating, but I knew I had to follow my passion." Her simple clothing, the colorful scarf wrapped tightly against the morning chill, told a story of practicality and care, not glamour or pretension. "I dressed for comfort, for work that I love, baking. I didn't want to draw attention, just share the flavors and memories that mattered most to me." A small crowd gathered nearby, and Lily's voice carried, warm and heartfelt, as she spoke about the long hours spent perfecting recipes, learning from her mother's hands, and cherishing the quiet joys of baking. She spoke of family gatherings, laughter, and the heritage of her baking that stretched back generations. Victoria Crane stood at the edge of the square, observing the scene with a mixture of resentment and something unspoken, perhaps curiosity or a reluctant admiration. For all her polished demeanor, the veneer of superiority had been cracked this morning, revealing a crack in her tightly held sense of order. Lily's openness and humility contrasted starkly with Victoria's earlier dismissiveness. The revelation that this woman with the simple accent carried a story full of dedication and love unsettled some in the crowd who had rushed to judgment. Greg, standing nearby, leaned closer and whispered, "She doesn't just bake, she carries a legacy." His words echoed the sentiment swirling among the listeners. The square was alive not just with the clinking of coins and clatter of cups, but with whispered conversations about the journeys people take and the courage they show in following their dreams despite obstacles. Lily's story had touched something deeper, reminding everyone that beneath the surface of appearances are rich, complex lives. Victoria's expression grew hard, her eyes narrowing as if trying to shield herself from the emotional undercurrent. Her posture stiffened, the battle she had waged this morning felt less definitive now. Perhaps the city demanded a different kind of strength than she had anticipated. Lily returned to her stall, offering pastries with renewed energy, each sale carrying the weight of the morning's triumph and the resilience that brought her here. Questions from curious customers came more freely now, discussions about flavors and history woven in between jests and laughter. Victoria caught a few side glances from passers-by who had previously sided with her, their expressions tinged with doubt or discomfort. The realization that their leader's judgment had been clouded was settling in. Lily's modesty shielded a powerful force, a blend of pride, history, and unshakable belief in her work, that inspired even the most skeptical. Her presence no longer seemed out of place, but rather a vital thread in the vibrant tapestry of the city's life. A soft murmur traveled through the crowd, whispers of respect and support that buoyed Lily's spirit and hinted at doors opening beyond the square. Though the day was still young, the promise of new beginnings shimmered in the air. The stage was set for what could come next, a future shaped not by where one starts but by the authenticity one carries forward. With gentle steps, Lily moved through the crowd, offering samples, sharing stories, and building bridges with smiles and kindness. Her journey had only just begun, yet the path was no longer shadowed by doubt but lit by the warmth of community and the power of perseverance. The city's vastness felt a little smaller now, intimate and welcoming, a place where voices from every corner belonged, where differences were not barriers but invitations to discover richer stories. Victoria turned away at last, the weight of the morning settling on her shoulders. Her role as antagonist shifted quietly from that of judge to an observer forced to reckon with the resilience of someone she underestimated. For Lily, every moment was a chance to redefine what it meant to be seen, to shape her own narrative with each smile and every pastry sold. In sharing her past and embracing her present, she found a strength that neither harsh words nor fleeting judgments could diminish. The bright morning sun cast long shadows and warm light across the square, mirroring the transformation that had taken place, from tension to joy, from dismissal to hope. Lily's simple stall stood as a reminder that behind every voice, every accent, lies a story waiting to be heard, a history waiting to be honored, and a future waiting to be written with courage and grace. Later that afternoon, the atmosphere in the office buildings overlooking the city square had shifted palpably. Victoria Crane, once the unyielding force who had attempted to oust Lily from her spot, found herself facing the consequences of her behavior. Word of the morning's incident had traveled quickly through her company's corridors, carried by whispers and buzzing conversations. Her colleagues no longer exchanged courteous nods. Instead, furtive glances and subtle shakes of the head replaced the deference she usually commanded. In a quiet conference room, Victoria sat before her manager, Mr. Thompson, a stern yet fair leader who listened intently as the events were recounted. "Victoria," he began carefully, "our company prides itself on inclusivity and respect. Your conduct toward Ms. Snow has not only reflected poorly on you but also on us all. I'm afraid we must take this seriously." Victoria's face tightened, the weight of her actions settling in with heavy clarity. The reprimand was firm but measured. She was required to issue a formal apology to Lily and to attend sensitivity and cultural awareness training. Her bonus was rescinded, and her future leadership prospects now uncertain. Outside, meanwhile, Lily was still serving a steady stream of customers. The line stretched longer than before, winding around her makeshift stall as newly interested office workers sought out her pastries for the first time. Invitations from local cafes and small restaurants were beginning to filter in, each one a testament to the positive ripple effect of her resilience. Phone calls buzzed in her pocket and emails awaited her attention, small opportunities sprouting from the soil of adversity. Between customers, Lily paused to call her closest friend, Maria. Their conversation was warm and filled with laughter, a welcome reprieve from the day's earlier tensions. "I was so worried for you," Maria said, her voice thick with concern and pride. "But you held your ground like a champion. You showed them all." Lily chuckled softly, the sound light and free. "I just did what felt right. I wasn't going to let anyone's judgment silence me." Later, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, Victoria made her way to Lily's stall. The square was quieter now, but a few loyal customers remained, savoring their last pastries while chatting animatedly. Victoria approached slowly, her usual assuredness tempered with humility. "Lily," she began, voice low and sincere. "I owe you an apology. I was wrong to judge you and your work like I did. You have every right to be here, and your pastries," she paused, searching for the right words, "they're exceptional. I hope you can forgive my behavior." Lily regarded her for a moment before nodding gently. "Thank you, Victoria. It takes courage to admit when we're wrong. I believe every one of us deserves a chance to learn and grow." Victoria smiled, genuinely this time, and the two women shared a quiet moment of mutual respect in the fading light. Word of Victoria's apology spread quickly, tipping public sentiment further in Lily's favor. The narrative had shifted, from judgment to vindication, and Lily's story soon became a touchstone for conversations about acceptance, resilience, and the power of kindness. Weeks later, a cozy local cafe hosted a small event in Lily's honor, celebrating her pastries and the journey that brought her here. The room buzzed with friends, supporters, and curious newcomers eager to taste the treats that had won a city's heart. Lily stood before the gathered crowd, her modest attire replaced by a simple yet elegant dress, her accent still present but embraced as part of her charm. She spoke softly yet confidently, sharing her hopes for the future and thanking everyone who had stood by her. In the audience, Greg and Maria cheered warmly, their faces glowing with pride. Back in the office, Victoria had begun her sensitivity training with genuine intent. The experience opened new perspectives for her, igniting a desire to become not just a better professional but a better person. One day, Victoria reached out to Lily with an offer, a partnership to develop a line of pastries for the corporate cafes she managed, an acknowledgement of Lily's talent and a symbol of respect. Lily considered the offer carefully. While cautious, she saw in it an opportunity to expand her dream while maintaining her independence and authenticity. With a thoughtful smile, she accepted, ready to bake a new chapter in her life. And so, Lily Snow continued to thrive, not just as a street vendor with a distinctive accent but as a beloved member of her city's diverse tapestry, proof that grace under fire can transform disdain into admiration. What would you have done if you were in Lily's shoes? Would you have stood firm or stepped away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt tales. See you in our next story.